Welcome to the first build video part on the Krug. Okay, first of all, instructions, throw them out, they are useless. No, only joking. Basically, I'll just explain a few things. First of all, this very first step here, which is attaching the fenders onto the lower hull, they don't actually fit unless you remove, there's 3 location stubs basically, and you have to chop one of them off, either the front one or the rear one. They won't fit unless you do so. Underneath the fenders as well, try and eliminate as much as you can the knockout marks. They're not that visible, to be honest, because they are obviously underneath the hull. But after that, really, like I said, I digress from the instructions. Remember, instructions are basically just how a graphics designer shows you where to put parts on. The sequencing is more, really should be to your taste, how you want to achieve it. So first of all, we're moving away from putting on the road wheels. However, I have attached all the stub axles on, all the torsion bar suspension is in place, and it is actually firmly cemented in place as well. So that's been done. I've also made up all the wheels and bits and pieces, but for our purposes as well, we want to get into this area for weathering because we haven't got any side skirts on this vehicle. So basically, in the instructions, it's telling us to put on loads and loads of detail before we apply the upper hull. Really, that isn't the way I build things. I don't know about yourselves, but what I want is I want this, obviously this join between upper and lower hull to be as firm and secure as possible. I don't want the vehicle coming apart, and also in particular I don't want any gaps to be evident, so I can avoid using filler by firmly cementing these halves together. I've got a very small gap there actually, if you can notice, if you can just barely see it. So by not putting all these details on top of the upper hull or the lower hull, it's much easier just to manipulate the model, really, to get those firm joins, basically. So really, I'm just going to leap ahead. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to throw in all these details, come back and show you what it looks like. Really, there's no headaches at all whatsoever. Everything goes together quite well at this stage. Okay, a few things to show you. Here's all the road wheels, etc. built up. Told you in the review as well that they actually have got the mold lines of the rubber, not the plastic rubber, but how the actual wheels do look. Now, for our purposes, we're actually going to take all that off. We're going to actually file all that down. Going to use a really sort of coarse sanding stick as well to do it, and we're going to impart some wear and tear on these road wheels. So if you haven't sort of guessed, we're going to be going for a particular look on this vehicle, not the immaculate one that's depicted on the box cover, as you can probably guess anyways. So anyways, all these road wheels to do. Show you where we've got up to on the chassis. Okay, quite a lot built up, obviously. Right, this is just the sort of way that I construct it. You can see there's all these little nibs everywhere, all over the thing. They all need trimming off. I just find it's easy to place the parts in using these nibs as holders. Then I come in with sprue cutters. Obviously, once it's all set, just trim these off, and of course we'll go on with the with our files and tidy up all these areas. Now, also, these are the tool holders as well here, the tool holders, and these are going to get a photo etch clamp on them. You can see obviously straight away there's no tools in them, and again that is going to our references, which will probably be in the next video where I'll introduce you to the vehicle that we wish to depict. What else have we done? Okay, now I've filed down these mud flaps here at the rear. These are rubber, obviously, so I've really filed these down really thin. We'll distort them a little bit later on. I'll show you how to do that. Very simple, very straightforward. Now obviously the launch cradle's in place. This does move, it articulates only a little bit, but I constructed it as per the instructions. Also, I've attempted to drill out this here. We need a bit of detailing here, but we'll do that later on as well. The light guards, they actually just snap into place. So you can just dry fit. These are just dry fitted totally, which is really, really handy for when it comes to painting. And then obviously as well, you notice all these bits of sprue sticking out of here. Now I've been using these to fill holes where, actually in these points here, this is where two, I think it's earth spikes are fitted. But again, see, we're talking about references. The reference vehicle that we're looking at hasn't got these fitted. So I'm going to try and tidy up this area as best I can. If not, I might even put a piece of styrene. Now, the other thing that we're going to do as well here is we've got a photo-etched grill that goes on top of here. But there is actually, I'm going to need to build up something with some styrene. And here, we've got 1, 2, 3 louvers there in this spot here. And I think they're just a bit too fat looking. They aren't, they could just be slimmer. So let's pop that out of there. And what we'll do, we'll build this up with card, and I'll show you how that looks like, and that part there. But basically, yeah, when I've been building this, I've just sort of been zipping back and forth. There's still other bits of detail to go actually on the hull, but I'll tidy everything up, and I'm sort of I'm waiting to put on the very small details. Just don't want to lose them. But I'll come back to that a little bit later on and show you how that looks. And the other parts I've been working on are the hydraulic Erector launcher component. Obviously, it's made out of quite a few bits and pieces. Really, this is the bottom part with the rotating circular mount that goes on the hull. This bit's pretty straightforward, nothing to it, everything goes together quite well. Just be careful with your tidy ups, but nothing really to say about that. This bit here is a bit more complex. It sits on top of here like so. It puts the missiles into the launch position. Now, putting all these things together, it's just lots of work, lots of little pieces that need to go on. But this part here in particular, this is quite a lot of work. There's so many parts on there, and of note is you can see inside there. You're not going to see this, fortunately, some pin marks there, but I'll just show you the instruction step. And this is where you build it up. You build it up out of all these parts. This part, they mirrored it wrongly, so it calls out D42, it's D43. Also, you can't really see how it fits on, but it fits as a plate onto the bottom of these support arms there, like so. That's the way that goes on. I'm really impressed with the detail around, in particular around this part here. I was wondering why these are separate sprues, but now it becomes evident why, because you've got the detail of all these lightning marks, holes rather, portrayed in this part. Trying to make this part up cleanly and nicely out of thin parts. It can be done, but it's a lot easier that they've made them in these individual slide molded parts, which offers all this detail. Side there, the motor. I was wondering how that would look according to my references, but the plastic parts are perfectly satisfactory. Okay, so now we need to really plow on. I'll just show you the next sort of steps that we're doing. I'll probably jump ahead and get up to this point here, which is this Erector launcher unit being basically complete. Actually, I'll do a few more steps, hydraulic rams, etc., so we can just see how that looks. Well, as you can see, it moved on significantly, basically done. No, not quite at all. I'll just explain what's going on here, basically. Everything's dry fit, obviously, at the moment, and there's a reason for that. Better just explain, okay? And I suggest you do this as well. It's all to do with the alignment of these parts. And I'll just explain to you that this part here, this Erector launcher part, is the most complex part of the kit easily. It's a little bit tricky. There's lots and lots of components, and it's not that difficult. It's just lots of work, obviously, to do. The detail's absolutely awesome. They've even rendered in the hydraulic lines and bits and pieces like that. But the reason I dry fitted on the missiles is because basically you've got fixed points here. These two support arms at the rear are fixed. These parts here, you can just see them. You can see one of them sort of like bent a little bit more forward than the other one. That's just the way it's worked out. But that was how I dry fitted it. And these two at the front, those are more or less fixed as well. Now, when you place the missile on, it's got a specific way to sit inside here, and I wanted to make sure that the cradle point here basically would support the bottom of the missile. So that's why I was doing that dry fitting. So the last parts to fit were these arms here, and then I just tested or adjusted the fit before the glue set to make sure that they sort of came up and supported the bottom of the actual missiles, or else it looked just weird. Right, okay, does it function? Yes, it does. I'll just show you. You probably saw in the previous clip what I had to do. I had to drill out the hydraulic cylinder component in order for these to function, or else the piston component is just way too tight. It just wouldn't fit. If you try and jam it inside there, you'll just break it. But detail on this part is absolutely stunning. Still to add on are the control cables that go from this part of the launcher to this part. Of course, when you add them on, you won't be able to do this. You won't be able to move the thing. So it's worth maybe considering, if you want to make it movable, to drill out holes here and add in wires. For me, I haven't quite decided yet how I'm going to do it. I know that the end position is going to be not with them in a launch position. It's not going to look like that. It's not going to look as if we're ready to launch missiles. However, of course, I can understand the appeal of posing your model like that, but that's not for me. But I do want this. So why have I got this movable at all? Well, the only reason I've done that is for painting and access, so I can paint all the components fairly easily. I've got full access to. Oh gosh, you can actually pop out the cylinders. I didn't realise that. Well, anyways, that even makes it easier now to paint, as you can see. Didn't think about that. So basically, this part is basically complete. It's the most complex part, as I've explained, and also to me the most fun as well. Pretty tricky part was getting these lugs in here that make this movable. That was a little bit difficult to do, but it can be done. Everything builds up. Make sure you check all your alignments, and what we'll do now is I'll come back and I'll show you how the chassis looks when we add a little bit of detailing. Okay, let's talk a little bit about detailing. This is the most rudimentary detailing. I'll explain it to you, you're going to see it straight away. Okay, first of all, this is not detailing. This is just where I filled in those holes as well. There's still like a little remnant, basically, of, you can still see the filler. So what I tend to do now is I've got this stuff, it's called pla paper. It's styrene that's like paper thin. And I cut off a square of that, stick it on totally all over the area, and just blend it down, and that basically eliminates everything there. Now, most obvious thing that you're going to see is these areas here, I'll just explain this basically. First of all, the engine is located up here in the front, and that is the exhaust for the engine that drives it. You know, it's a self-propelled chassis, obviously. Now here they've got a, I think it's a gas-powered turbine, and they've got an inlet up here and an exhaust down below. Now you saw me cut out the louvers, so all I've done is I've replaced the louvers, but also I've just built up a little bit of area there with some card, really simple stuff. And here as well, just had a look at some references. You could basically see into that area and see some structure behind there. Now, what will happen is this grill goes on top like so, and you still will be able to see behind it, but the idea was to give it some depth there. So that's what we've done in terms of detailing there. And then the other thing that I've added in is there's a connection between, I gather this is receiving data from the radar unit, and then this wire connects it into the TEL that I've already drilled out a hole out for. So all I've done is added on that wire and also some of the straps that connect it onto the frame there. I don't think there's anything else I need to add in terms of any sort of scratch detailing, but I just thought I'd just sort of show you that. I'll check all my references once again, see if there's anything else I need to add. But actually, I think I will point out something at the moment as well. Here at the front, I should show you the instructions, and I'll probably bring it up later on, but there were some devices to be like loops that were meant to be attached onto these points here. Now I've left them off. If you add them on, bear in mind that they are actually the recovery wires. However, there's no recovery wire included within the kit, so you'd have to do that yourself. So what else do I need to do with this chassis? Well, I need to add on all these photo etch and just a few more details, and then basically I'll show it to you how it looks. Okay, so that's nearly everything complete on the chassis now. Okay, now we're going to construct the sort of last major subassembly, which is actually the rockets themselves. Now we're blessed with these slide molded main body of the rocket, which is great. However, you're not going to get away that easily, because all of the solid rocket boosters that attach around the outside of the Model R traditional seams. So basically, if you're an armor modeler, you only deal with seams really with tank barrels, basically. But I'm just going to sort of point out that the sort of process that you should go through, or maybe a tip if you're unfamiliar. Aircraft builders pretty much know all this, but if you're an armor builder, you might be unfamiliar. The first thing to do is you really need to get all the contact points really flat. So you need to give this a good smooth sanding to eliminate any high points, and do that on both sides, obviously. So just make sure that there's nothing stopping the join. The second thing you do is you dry fit, obviously. Always good practice to dry fit. And then you're going to see how the alignment is and where the join is. You can see straight away that they sort of like, it flexes apart, but the join there is pretty good on one side and on the other as well. Now, to cement these together, well, pretty much easy again. All you're doing is adding cement, but I'll just show you the trick here. So what we do, we run the liquid cement within the gap, and what I do one side at a time. Right, okay, once that's sort of sticky, what I do, I exert a lot of pressure on there, and you'll see that you get like a squidge come out. Then I'll do the other side. And run plenty of glue inside here. It's all fine. And again, exert pressure to see all that glue sort of squidge out. And if you keep exerting pressure, it actually, as the plastic's melting, it will also ooze out. Now, what you do is you repeat on the other side. Obviously, the capillary action is going to bring the glue into the gap. And don't even worry too much if you get this on your fingers and you touch the thing. Everything can be tidied up. So repeat that, squidge it down. See, I've already got I've got marks on that already. No problem at all. Honestly, when you build a lot of models, you sort of know how to get around all your problems. So don't worry about that too much. Okay, so that squidges. Now you have to leave that, and you need to leave that a good long time. Don't go into it straight away. You want to sort of leave that a couple of hours. Okay, so here's what I prepared earlier. And as you can see all that squidge that's come out. It's all dried. And the way that I approach this is just get your scalpel, X-Acto, whatever knife you use, and I just run my blade across the top, taking off that extra sort of stuff that's been squeezed out the gap, like so. And this way you basically level off the seam. Doesn't take long. And then the next thing I do is sanding. And sanding is like a two-stage process. I tend to use a medium for this, a medium sort of grit. Couldn't tell you the number, but I just know it's medium. And you give that a polish along there. And likewise on the other side. And then what you do, you come in with your fine. And then you give this a polish. Now I'm doing this for you right now, and it's taking less than a minute, but there you can see that the seam's basically eliminated. There's a bit of tidy up here as well. We usually, I'll show you how to do that as well. The same thing, you're going to use your knife and you're going to just a little bit more intricately scrape away at the plastic there to remove any of the seam. Now on this side here, just the way it's worked out, there's like I think actually I might have a better example somewhere. On some of these, let's find one. Most of them have turned out really nicely. But there we can see there's like a little slim gap there. That is going to need filler, and the way I'll do that is with super glue. So I'll come back in a second and show you how that's done. And of course, let's just talk briefly about the main rocket body. Which is really simple and easy to construct. It goes together really well. There's not many components to it. Everything lines up perfectly. And that's what you end up with. Of course, that started from this. And again, the same thing. Although it is slide molded, you have got a seam to deal with, which is just the mold line. And it's the same as I've showed you on the solid rocket boosters. All you're doing is scraping away along that line, there and there. Make sure you have a good look all over here to make sure that you eliminate any of these seams, etc. Because you don't want to spoil the look of your model. You're basically dealing with the same as you would deal with an aircraft fuselage. Go in again with the medium grit. You can see it's gone already from that section. And if you wish, polish it up with your ultra fine stick, and there you can see totally gone. Then you assemble all the components on there really easy, and that is basically everything regarding the actual rocket. Also, just bear in mind as well, check your references. I want to be, obviously I'm looking for interest, and I'll explain it later on. I want to create visual interest. So I've fully assembled a rocket, but you'll see many of them actually on the launchers are without the fins fitted, because those were fitted just prior to sort of launch. It'd be one of the last things they do. So bear that in mind if you want to create you know, something historically accurate or a vehicle period correct. On my references, I can be a little bit loose about it. I'll explain all that later on, probably in the next video, to be honest. But they do look quite impressive. Maybe a little bit of detailing to add around this. This is the protection to the inlet of the ramjet, and I've seen on some pictures you can actually add on a little bit of detail. I'll think about that, maybe, maybe not. Okay, so we've ended up with this very small gap here inside one of the solid rocket boosters. Easiest way to fill this is using super glue. That's the way I do it anyways. I'm just going to get out, and I use this really cheap stuff. It's just throwaway. I can use it for a few days, throw these out. I don't recommend spending a lot of money on super glue, super glue, super glue. Anyways, what we're going to do is just simply fill in this crack by applying it down the seam line with a toothpick. Just bring it to either side. That's the only gap we have in there. That's the only seam we need to fill. Now we need to let that sort of dry out. A couple of hours. I just tend to leave it overnight. It just seems to be easier for me. And then come back to it the next day. Okay, so let's dry it out. See very clearly where the super glue is dried out. Shiny. Instead of scraping along this joint, all we're going to do is just very quickly give it a light sanding pass. And all we need to do is, it's pretty simple, we just need to eliminate that shine. Once we know it's down level with the rest of the plastic, you won't see that shine anymore. So just work that, it doesn't take long. Just using my medium grit again. Go basically nearly there. And this side as well. Okay, that'll do. Now notice there is some lines here, sort of panel lines really. So what we need to do, we need to actually put these back in again. I use my scalpel first of all, just to start it off. Run it across like so. Another one here. Here. And then, to deepen them out, use a scriber tool and just let it just very gently just run down the gap. The only reason I'm showing you this is if you're following my channel and you're not I'm a modeler, you've probably never done this before, but it's worth taking the extra time just to get these looking right, basically. So that's them done. I'll show you how they all look like. Okay, so all the boosters are complete. These get attached onto the body of the missile like so. They get cemented in place like this, all four of them per missile. Now, I'm leaving these off. The reason is I've been looking ahead at my painting instructions, and it's going to be very difficult to paint. I need to paint a band inside there. So we're going to leave them off, and actually I think we can basically round off this build now, show you what the how far we've got, and just do a quick sort of appraisal of the model. So let's do that now. Okay, so let's just do a quick appraisal. First thing I'll point out as well is that this video does not cover the tracks. I think I'm going to do a fully separate video on how to construct paint weather Master Club tracks. One of the viewers pointed out that the tracks included actually do snap fit together, which is absolutely true. I wish I'd known about that earlier on, but still, anyways, you know, click together the tracks can be a bit problematic. So, but they are really good out the box. So here we are. Here's the main chassis of the vehicle. All the photo etch has been added. It's quite impressive looking actually in this stage at the moment. Nothing really to note, just point out something. This is meant to be a photo etch component back here. I don't know, it's a rain guard or something. Impossible to bend, so I've replaced that with plastic strip. I've chunked out the road wheels quite a lot actually to give them the sort of worn down look. That's been done. Pretty simple, just using the X-Acto knife to sort of take out chunks to sort of show a worn rubber appearance. And that's basically what it looks like. Really quite impressive. Also, that photo etch grill is not going to go on at the moment. That needs to be done after painting because I need to get some depth into there. I'd say that also, oh yeah, I'll point out as well, I've used the kit tracks here just just for demonstration purposes, just to show you what they look like. Really good. All these photo etch clamps have gone on. There's lots and lots of small little grab handles and bits and pieces on there. It makes it quite difficult. The photo etch as well along the side is just sort of butt jointed on. Hopefully it'll stay on. You know what it's like with these models. Right, so that's how it looks without the missiles. Let's put them in place to give you a final view of this kit. Basically, really very impressed. I wanted this kit for quite a long time, and I was wondering, you know, it's quite expensive kit within their range as well, within the Trumpeter catalogue. You'll see that the price is quite high for it, but I suppose a lot of it might do with these sort of slide mouldings. But my gosh, does it look impressive once you put on the missiles themselves. Did sort of notice something, is that the fins of these missiles do sort of clash a little bit when you put them into position here, but just probably need to work on that a little bit. I think like so, basically balance it. But that is how it looks. Quite a lot of pieces are actually external to the vehicle. All the road wheels are loose. All the Pioneer tools are missing because that's the way this vehicle is going to look, and we're going to cover that in the next video on references. There's this nice little detail, which is an access ladder. That'll get glued on that main structure down there. Haven't put it on for now, but yeah, very impressive kit. Thoroughly recommend it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give me your comments, guys. Tell me what you got out of this video. Did you learn anything? Was anything practical and helpful to you? Or on the contrary, were things a little bit too dumbed down? Could you do with some more detail in some areas? Always very receptive to feedback. Anyways, next video is going to be covering references and painting, so we'll get onto that. And this is the Bear, and I'm signing out, so see you guys soon.